Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Healing in the Workplace. We decided to go live with this topic tonight because I know that this topic addresses a lot of you out there. Whether you are an employer or a business owner, you are an employee somewhere, either you have switched jobs, you're unemployed, or you're changing jobs, or you are someone that is interested in completely changing your career path. What this topic was brought up is I've met a lot of entrepreneurs like myself that are either new at starting a business, people who are in leadership positions that are not sure how to meet the new needs of employees and us out there who are working for employers. And really the changing in our overall culture and shift that we're seeing, not just since the pandemic, that as well, but even before that. So tonight I'm going to be sharing some information on what toxicity looks like in the workplace. Why are we so sick of working? I know you probably have that answer in your mind, like I have a toxic boss, or the people at work are just dramatic, or I don't get paid enough, or whatever that reason is for you. But the intention is to share information, what really across the board, what do we usually see in the workplace that causes a toxic work environment and then lowers our overall desire to work? Also, we're going to talk a little bit about what's changing and what we need to create a healthier work environment. So whether you're an employee somewhere and you're able to utilize this information to bring to your management or leadership team, or you also own a business and you are looking to really level up a little bit, be a little bit more empathic and heart-centered in the way that you lead, because really that's what we're seeing. We're seeing this huge shift in power. And really that's what, when you're growing up, 10, 20 years ago in high school, what has been always the archetype of the boss is always the villain. The leadership, those in positions of power have always been the ones that have had just stereotypical comments made about the way things are run. And that, of course, grows across all different professions. But we do see that as one of the leading reasons why people believe they're living in a toxic work environment, because they have toxic leadership or bosses that they're working with. Now, there are certain things, of course, we cannot change. And we'll talk a bit about where we have the power to shift not only our own work culture as an employee, but also as an employer or a business owner, even if you have a small team or a large team. So I should share a little bit about my background here. I am an entrepreneur. I grew up in York County, Pennsylvania here. So I'm in South Central PA. And I had a lot of work experience being a manager and being a leader and learning what I did not want to do in positions of leadership based on previous jobs, but also learned what I did want to do. I have a passion for understanding how we bring back power to a group of people in leading together. I was always that manager where, hey, you don't want to take out the trash. This is when I worked, back in high school, college at one of the local gas stations. You want to take the trash out? What do you want to do tonight? Let's all share the workload. Let's do this together. So the way that I've always led is let's do this together. And it's really, really interesting as I've built my business. Again, I built this business from the ground up. I, really was a single mom, not having a lot of resources. And really working with the holistic professionals in the last 10 years. I run a holistic wellness clinic here in South Central Pennsylvania. Our business is a little bit different from maybe what you're working in, but one of the things and the common factors is I wanted to really create a business where everyone had a sense of putting their own innovative, creative ideas in, really helping people to find out what their strengths are so they know within a group what they do best in, what role they do best in, and really having everyone feel heard and have this empathetic nature to the way that I led. And what's really exciting is I've seen, of course, over the last 10 years, not just coaching clients who also run businesses and helping them with their own private businesses to work with that, but also working with referring out to some local people that are amazing at business growth, accountants, lawyers, even HR professionals. There's just so much to running a business that not all of you who are just employees have that perception. But one thing's for sure, that in the current climate that we're in, so many people are stressed and so many people are unhappy, not just from a leadership and business perspectives, because sometimes they're trying to meet needs and demands and are understaffed. A lot of people are at this time, or you're just not feeling happy in your work environment. So one of the things that excited me, and I will be sharing some of the research articles as well as some resources with you here at the end. And we'll be bringing on some people here at Firefly Hollow and what they've experienced in their different backgrounds at work and the work culture that we've created. I want to share with you guys out there really what we have and how you could maybe utilize this in your own business, or if you could utilize this as an employee somewhere, and this information to share with your leadership team or your business owners. Because I think that this is information that we just don't really think about until now, until we're so unhappy with our work environment. So I think that's really interesting that companies are now embracing this sense of empathy, and even in big companies. But it really has fallen short sometimes because there's been a lot of push for big companies to maybe create more wellness programs, or maybe Zoom 3-hour webinars or things like that to teach people how to be empathetic and care about each other. And it's hard when you're running a company and really the life stressors that come up with children, with work, with health, with spouses. We have such multidimensional lives that whether you're working for a company has great leadership, but maybe the other employees are just not really into their job, it's really interesting. We have to kind of get on the same page here and row in the same direction. And I think that's the same across the board with all professions, whenever you're leading groups of people. But empathy is something that is, of course, a buzzword, not just in the HR world with bringing empathy into the workplace, but just in general. So I, of course, professionally work with people as a professional psychic intuitive. I am an empath, and I work with people with looking at what's going on in your business. Where might you be blocking things of your own for life coaching, but also what's happening in this dynamic between you and your employees, or you and your own sense of personal power. Because this is where, when we go into I'm going to talk about a list of things that are toxicity in the workplace. One of them is having toxic leadership and really this misuse of power, because we really don't know how to wield power in a way that isn't power over people, isn't manipulative, isn't putting someone else down. It's usually go to work, fall into place, do what you need to do. And a lot of times there's just a sense of being treated like a number or a robot. And that's really been a lot of the dissatisfaction that we've had in the workforce. So many of us have experienced that in maybe many of the different jobs we've had. If you're lucky enough to have a great employer and haven't experienced that, I'd say kudos to not just you as the employee, but also you as the business owner, because it takes two to tango. It takes a whole team, not just something falling on the leadership team to make everything work, but also the employees as well. So what we're seeing, of course, is it's interesting that only 1 in 4 employees believe that there is empathy in the organizations that they work for. So think about that. Do you feel heard? Do you feel that your boss and your organization really cares for you? That's a really big value that we have all, of course, either we didn't have it before COVID or maybe we did, but after COVID, with our life circumstances changing, with caretaking, working from home, all these things that have shifted, really this sense of need for empathy from our employers or an organization has been dramatically increased. We need that. We realize it's a value. We want to feel seen. We want to feel heard. We want to feel cared for. And we want to feel that we matter. And that's really, really important. So I would say think about that. And if you really have a connection with that in your workplace, 1 out of 4 people. So hopefully there's more people that experience that empathy than not. But it is something that's here to stay. You know, if it's something that we on a mass scale really are desiring across all professions, absolutely, you're going to see leadership shift. You're going to see organizations shift to meet that, because what we're seeing is so many people, there's up to 66% of people who are unemployed are considering switching professions and going into a completely different profession. But in general, people are just unhappy with their work environment and feel at this time that they have the capacity to leave and find another job. So of course, with that, we're seeing a shift in the power to the people in a sense of the workplace. But we have to remember that when it comes to this shift in power, we have to heal, I would say, our issues with power and corruption in that. And that's what we're going to go into in talking about some of the toxicity signs and symptoms we see in the workplace. So the number one thing that I've seen in working with clients is poor communication. I think over COVID, if you had to work from home, it's interesting to keep in mind that leadership teams had to put together these new protocols and new things quickly so that you could have a new way of operating in your normal day-to-day workplace. And even if that was from home. And poor communication not only leads to us feeling maybe not heard or seen, but just common miscommunications. Assumptions are so big. We make assumptions about what people think or feel about us when we have to fill in the blank because there's a lack of communication. And I think that's one of the number one things that really happens in the workplace is poor communication in general, whether from the employees to the employer or from the leadership team or the employer to the employees. Again, it's a two-way street. Communication's a two-way street. We always say here at Firefly Hollow that communication is lubrication, and it's your responsibility to be involved in that communication. So communication really helps things to not be toxic if you are, again, looking to shift things in your workplace a little bit. And one of the things, especially in a workplace, it's safe to share and be transparent about what your experience is, whether you're from a leadership perspective or you're an employee's perspective. What are the things you see that could change that aren't really going well? A lot of times people leave places of employment without sharing with their bosses or leadership or the organizations they worked for what went wrong, what really was the thing that really was the game changer for them. And if we could communicate these things, organizations could shift and change over time if there are enough people, of course, are creating these complaints or bringing up these concerns. Stress and burnout. We, of course, are working way too much. And one of the things in our culture is, from a holistic wellness perspective, as a wellness center, we see a lot of us don't have just basic self-care routines or rhythms intact. And some of us don't know how to de-stress. And so that's where, as a business, that's one of our jobs and one of our passions and purpose for sharing with the world. But if you have a lot of responsibilities and a lot of stress in your work life and your home life, burnout is something that's very common, and it can make toxicity in the workplace skyrocket. So that third one there is that poor leadership. This is where you had that toxic boss who was degrading, who was maybe a micromanager, all these things. And this is where I'd like to see the shift in power, and not just from a leadership perspective, but also from us as individuals. I'm going to take this off the screen for a second because I want to look at you guys while I say this. I think it's so important for us as individuals, wherever we work, whatever position we are in, to have self-accountability for our own personal empowerment. And that's what I think that we are seeing. There's just a shift from moving the space from feeling victimized by life, by our circumstances, by situations, to finding where we have power in the situation, where we can control a decision or a choice for our own health, mental, physical, or emotional, as well as setting standards and boundaries. And I think that that's really common for us to really not have the ability to have really a solid sense of empowerment. We are used to just power over people or manipulation or that sense of power. So what I talk about, a common healing aspect of power, empowerment, is finding what you really like to do. What is the best role that you have, or your purpose, things that you really enjoy doing in the workplace? Now, there's always things that we don't enjoy doing for our jobs. But if you can align yourself with knowing that you have enough value and worth in yourself to really either create an opportunity or find that opportunity, or even take classes or do some sort of personal work for yourself to find that sense of personal empowerment, that self-esteem skyrockets, and usually you shift the way that you're working in the environment you're already with, or you usually shift to another job. So I think that's really important. So poor leadership can really, really stress us, especially if we don't feel that capacity to speak up or stand up about what we're seeing in the workplace as an issue. One of the other things I see that's toxic in business situations is poor vision or structure. There is a very common thing when we don't have what I would say a mission statement or something that business is looking to create. And things have shifted a lot with COVID. But when you have a solid vision of what you're looking to create, that's when you can bring people together to work on your same team, to row in the same direction. Even if you have different cultural backgrounds, or if you have different religious backgrounds, political backgrounds, all those things can be set aside if there's a common vision and a passion for that vision when you're coming together with a group. And structure, of course, is really important. I'm sure you've experienced this over your shutdown or with your work, where structure's been falling apart. And I think just understanding the circumstances it's not always easy to understand it unless you're in a position of leadership and management in that role of all the things that need to be done to create a structure and a routine for people. But I think structure is something that's so important. And as they've been shifting a lot, really, we see sometimes that there's not a solid structure there. And then, of course, the whole workplace can go down and it can create stress and burnout. Then leadership can, again, be continual in operating in a place of maybe reactivity, and it just creates more toxicity if there's not a good solid structure and protocols, a way that things are working. So polarization and or competition in the workplace. Oh my gosh, this is something we talk about so much at our clinic, is really the world is a space of non-competition, and it's just a shift in that perspective. And really our whole system is based off of this capitalist system of competition. And there is, of course, black and white reasons why you wouldn't want to open two Starbucks right next to each other because, reason, unless there's enough demand for it. But when it comes to non-competition, it really is understanding as a business what your goal is, what your niche is, and what the value is there that you have to offer your community, and understanding that what you have to offer is unique and very different. I think this sense of competition keeps us from networking with other businesses and supporting each other. Within a business structure, it keeps us competing for clientele or whatever you do in your business. Maybe you're looking for that next raise, or you're looking to outperform another employee. That competition sense really breaks us apart. And we're seeing this polarization in our world, but also in our workplace too. So I think polarization in general and competition really create for a toxic work environment. I'd love for you guys to put in the chat too if you're experiencing some of these things or if you've experienced these. And then, of course, pay and benefits. That's one of the number one things we hear, that we feel overworked and underpaid. So let's talk about what things that we, of course, and again, these are things as a business owner that not only that I've seen working with clients. Of course, I'm really obsessed with learning about leadership and learning how to lead in a heart-centered way. I'm really obsessed with learning how to have personal empowerment and to take responsibility and accountability for myself so I can be a better person, a better leader, a better partner, a better mother, a better friend. And that's the foundation in which I've built my business off of. And I'm loving connecting with other business professionals and employees as well who feel that sense of passion and purpose for that self-empowerment. Because what happens is you completely change your life. You take your sense of control back for what you can do with your life, and it completely changes your world from reactivity to responsibility and being able to feel empowered to do something to change or create change in our world, no matter it's on a big picture or a big scale or a small scale in maybe your organization. So healing in the workplace. What I would say is the number one thing is the work environment. So that is not just the physical location, how things are. It's needing to be a healthy environment, but enjoying the space. That's one of the things I work with coaching people, is looking at their space. There's, of course, so many professionals that work with the psychology of spaces, lighting, plants, having enough good air quality. There's so many things that contribute to a sense of peace in the workplace. And a sense of feeling empowered to really come to work and enjoy your just physical environment. Leadership and communication is really the second thing that I think that if we're going to create healing in the workplace, we all, no matter if we have a management role or not, we all have to step up and lead in the way that we lead. And that may look like, as if I'm an employee somewhere, it may look like just really doing my job the best I can, communicating properly with clients or customers, or filling out paperwork just exceptionally in the way that I can, so that I can really feel good about the quality of work I put forward, but also so I can just feel confident in who I am and what my position is at that job. I think it's really important to remember that leadership is how we lead it, whether or not we're in a team environment. We lead by how we show up. And I think that applies not only to the workplace, but it applies to our communities as well. We need so many people to step up and shine and show really what it looks like to be an empathetic, good, accepting person. And that, of course, goes along with communication too. So support of team health is another thing that I like to see in the workplace. So at Firefly, we really make it really a priority. It's so important to us that our team is not burned out, especially we're in the massage industry. So most massage therapists get really burned out where they're seeing so many clients. Even, of course, this is the nursing, profession, doctors, all you guys out there that are in the helping profession are really burned out. So we've made it a really integral part of our system to offer extra support for self-care, for massages and services for our team, but also to give people time off. We have a menstruation policy for women who really have that time of their month, and they have a space where they can actually call off that particular day of the month. That's really important. And I think more businesses will start to incorporate that. And again, of course, we're looking at, well, doesn't that bring your profit down? I'm like, actually, having a team that's happy, that's feeling that they're not burnt out, they're not going to injure themselves, like, that's more important to me. I think that should be something that we should really look at and prioritize. And it's something, if you want to bring up for your work environment, it's something that there's really great research and articles out there about having those policies and start implementing them. So if you're interested in that, I would say look that up and bring it to your leadership or your management. Career development. If you're in a job and you feel like there's no sense of being able to progress, not learn anything with whether there's continuing education or trainings, you really can feel like you're at that dead end job. If there's not this ability to up level, so to speak, and really feel like you're going to be going somewhere with the skill set you're learning. And that's something that's really important to us. And I know that whenever I worked other places, I felt like, I'm one of those people that I want to make a difference in the world. And I want to make sure that I can touch people's lives, not only as an entrepreneur, like everyone who comes to work with us, that they have the ability to learn and get these trainings that develop them, not just in their skill set. So I want to point that out, make that clear, not just in their skill set as a holistic practitioner, whether that's just personal one-on-one communication with clients, but to be able to help them up level their ability to feel empowered as a person. Because all businesses are a reflection of the people who run it. So if we are overbearing, if we are people that are impatient, say there's definitely business owners and organizations out there that are very greedy. If you have that leadership or that mentality in your management team who runs that company, you're going to see that trickle down. So it's really important to me that everybody who I touch, not just clients, but also employees that come to work with us, whether they end up staying here for the long term or not, that I touch their lives so they have some sort of tools that have completely transformed their life. Whether it's just validating them, giving them some more skill set for how to know themselves on a personal level, because personal self-awareness, when you have that about any habit or any maybe fear, anything that you need to overcome that you maybe not aware of, once you have awareness of it, you can shift and change. And I think that's really important, at least in my work culture. Diversity and shared vision. I talked about that vision. A lot of places not having a vision. What I'm really proud of here at Firefly is we've really been able to continue to have a diverse background of people with very different backgrounds. And we have a shared vision and a shared purpose here. And again, we're able to work together because that vision and purpose to help people to spread holistic wellness is really important. And it's more of value to us than just our jobs. And of course, we value our jobs and our workplace, but there's a higher vision for us here. And I know that workplaces that have a shared vision, you feel like you're really on board. That really can fuel you to really enjoying your job. So I would highly recommend, if you feel like you're looking to shift jobs or professions at this time, when you're going to work with a new employer, I suggest this, and this is what I also look for. I want people to interview us. What is your vision and your goal as a business? Is it in alignment with who I am and who I'm becoming? That tells me so much about someone's character, that they're really looking to empower themselves and to be their best version, to work in a place they really enjoy. And that's, of course, what we create here for our culture. So it's something that I encourage you to do at your next interview. Like, interview the employers, ask them what their vision is for the business. And I think that's something that will really also make you stand out. Some people in some organizations that may actually go completely backwards. So I use discernment heavily. Don't say this, some girl online told me to ask you, but definitely use discernment with who you're asking, because specific organizations do not like that. But as we're shifting this work culture, I have a feeling that more and more individuals will be able to ask those questions, not only so we as employers are finding the right people for our team culture, but also so that you are finding something that fits with you so you can have overall success and happiness in your workplace. And the last one is heart-centered boundaries. As a business owner, we definitely know that we have to set boundaries with our time, with our finances and our budget and those type of things. And that's one of the things that we really have a lot of sense of corruption in the workplace. I've seen a lot of people talk about the bottom line and businesses that are really not utilizing empathy in general with the way they make decisions, that they either they talk about mental health being a big value for their company, but then they cut their insurance and they're limited in what type of mental health professionals they can see. So we see this disconnect or this discord between what people are actually saying as an employer, as a company, and what they're actually doing. So really, if you're having an employer who's heart-centered, we have, of course, these decisions we can make that sometimes are tough decisions, especially during these times. But if there are in sense of the value and the shared mission for what that company is doing together, it's amazing what people can do when they stick with their boundaries in a heart-centered way to really fulfill the vision of what they're trying to do as a group. So, yeah. I, of course, want to share a little bit more information too about Firefly Hollow, but I'm going to actually share one other thing that I found was really interesting. Very interesting. So I'll share some of these links in the show notes here afterwards. But this is from a really cool article. It's called The Pandemic Reset: The Balance Between Workers and Employers. How Bosses Respond Will Shape the Future of Work. Yes. Oh my gosh, I love this. So it says employees in many industries are in a position of power that they haven't experienced in years. As the economy swiftly rebounds from the pandemic and businesses struggle to recruit and retain enough workers to keep up with the growth. Basically, these businesses are going to have to shift, like I said. It's absolutely something that we are seeing. In order to attract and retain the workers, leaders need to have their organizations reassessed. And this is, again, if you're a business owner or if you're maybe just starting your own business and you're looking to employ people later, personal empowerment, really feeling a strong sense of who you are instead of overcompensating. You can get easily reactive when someone challenges you, working on your communication skills. There's so many layers to this, to really up-leveling yourself as a person that automatically will roll over into your professional life. But we need to do that as leaders, whether we're leading as an employee and leading how we walk the talk of the shared vision at our place of employment, or whatever it is. We have the sense of power to really shift and change things. So I encourage you, and I hopefully inspire you to look at the importance of personal development on a personal level, on a physical, emotional, spiritual health level, but also how that can change the work life and this toxicity that we see in the workplace. I think that is the number one thing that can really shift a lot of things. And especially because we are used to our leaders or our businesses bailing us out, or they're going to fix it. They're going to make it better. And this is not just in the workplace, but this is in a bigger, broader scale. This is where we have to take responsibility and accountability. And when we do that, our lives change. I've worked with people over the last 10 years. I'm seeing their lives transform with that. And we can do that as well in the workplace. So I want to share a little bit. I know there's a lot of different types of businesses that are opening, ones that maybe are changing their structure. And I want to share what's worked for us. I want to share so that you have a little bit of information to really empower yourself as an employee or a business owner. One of the things that was really the ups and downs of running a team-led business, I'm going to talk about that. Running a team-led business, what that is when we have our team meetings at Firefly Hollow, when we do many of our decisions, they're really based on what our team culture is comfortable with. If someone has something to say that they're not comfortable with something, if it's something that the majority of the group is like, this is absolutely something that's a concern for me too, we take it to consideration and we find a way to make a policy around it or make some sort of structure that supports our work and our team. So that team-led business is really engaging with our team at meetings, a lot of communication, and everyone feeling that they really have a say in some of the decisions that we make. Of course, they're not going to make decisions like, hey, I want to go and, get this extravagant thing for the office. Well, if we don't have the budget for it, we can't do it, right? There's logistic things that, of course, in a business apply, but that's something that I think has been really, really wonderful. The downs of running a team-led business, the only thing I've experienced is when the majority rules in favor of a particular direction, of course, people can feel left out. And of course, trying to have high empathy, and that's something that's really a big part of who I am. You feel that sense of being let down and someone feeling ostracized or left out of the group. And honestly, that's not something you can't really do anything about that, right? It's really challenging. And my heart goes out to you if you've ever experienced this, because I've experienced this as well. In a previous workplace, I had some things I wanted to say, and just that team culture didn't really agree with that particular perspective. And it was one of those things that you definitely can feel like slighted or feel like you're not valued. And I would absolutely ask people to really look at, what does that really mean for you? What can you learn from that situation? I'm all about turning situations that make us feel victimized into situations that are learning experience, that we can use them for personal empowerment later. So again, that's the downside. I felt like running a team business, and also running a team-led business. It does take a lot more time, a lot more meetings, a lot more communication that you could potentially be doing other things. But I think the payoff, of course, is just really a happy team. I really love working with a lot of these people. How to cultivate a happy culture and team environment: communication, having a shared purpose, having a sense that we're all in this together. There's so many amazing extracurricular activities that we could be doing, of course, not with COVID, but doing things together with your team, team building exercises or trips or dinners or things like that. I really enjoy that. Cultivating a happy work culture also includes keeping it light and humorous and bringing humor into the workplace. I think that that's something that a lot of the leadership team, of course, that I've worked with in other places, there's not a sense of vulnerability or transparency. There's usually a guardedness and a coldness, and there's no humor. And honestly, it makes you really lighten up when you have a sense of, okay, my boss has boundaries here, which is what we do here at Firefly, but they also have the ability to lighten up and be playful. And I feel like I can absolutely talk to them and be a little bit more transparent about things that are transpiring in my work experience. And through the history of what we've done, we've actually had a lot of people that come to us and they're very skeptical about us saying, well, you can be transparent, you can talk about this, because other people have had these wounds, or I'd say business traumas, where they've told a boss or a leadership team member on another job that this is going wrong or whatever, and they've gotten attacked for it or brushed off or dismissed. And a lot of times we prove to people over time, like, hey, we really do mean that. We will listen to you. It's really important. Another thing I think that we've done at Firefly is we avoid burnout, because again, I don't want anybody at Firefly or anywhere I would work to really feel that they're not getting enough downtime. Work-life balance, work-home balance, it's really important. And again, that also takes the responsibility of you as an employee to take that time for self-care, for doing extracurricular hobbies or things. We don't do that as a culture. So this isn't something that is up to your workplace. They can have a policy or a code of conduct or a, hey, we really should have some more play, or you should do these things on the weekend, or take care of yourselves. It's up to us to do that. It really is. And I really am grateful because a lot of the people we work with here have a value on health in mind, body, and spirit, a value on fun and play. And because we're all in that same wavelength, they really do take the time to take care of themselves and avoid that burnout. And of course, request off when they need to. And I think it's really important. And then, of course, the importance, I think, of having boundaries when you're having a heart-led business. I know a lot of the people in the healing profession who might be watching tonight really struggle with this. As helpers, it's kind of the milestone. If you're in the helping profession, it's one of the milestones that you learn is having boundaries and saying no. And when you can do that in a neutral space where you have a protocol, you have something that's already set up, and you're not reactive emotionally about it, that's the sweet spot. And I think that that's one of the things that we've worked on. Of course, for me as a over nurturer, that's been my background growing as a business owner. I've been the person that wants to give all and help all. And that's not healthy as well. That's not heart-centered because it's not loving myself as well and creating boundaries for what I'm able to give and where is there a give and take versus creating parasitic dynamics. It's a symbiotic dynamic. So I think that's something when you're running a heart-centered business, having boundaries that are written out, protocols that make sense for you to be able to follow and be able to go back to, and having that person that holds you accountable for those boundaries. And that's where a leadership team comes into play, or maybe a business coach or someone like that. So I would like to, of course, bring on my leadership team and introduce them, because they are, of course, really have some great things to share. They may have some things to share on the bullet points I shared, and also their background with some other work experiences and where they've come from. But I think I'm going to bring on Emily first. And I apologize for those of you out there watching live on Instagram. This is a square. We're in the square world, a world of squares with Instagram. So when I bring her on, the screen's going to split, and you're going to see half of our faces. So hopefully you're watching on YouTube or Facebook. Hey, Emily, hello. So
Hello.
I would love for you to tell everyone about who you are and your background in different work environments.
Yeah, I can do that. My name is Emily. I am part of the leadership team here at Firefly. I was a massage therapist for about 10 years in the early 2000s. And then, so I've worked at places like day spas, big resort spas, chiropractors' offices. I've worked at franchise massage places. I also did my own private alcohol business for a while. So I've definitely have some experience in different environments for this field. I took some time off. I had 3 wonderful, beautiful children. So I spent some time doing the whole stay-at-home mom thing. But while I was doing that, I realized at some point that I was going to have to go back to work eventually. And that was awesome. I was very excited about that idea, except for the fact that I've had some, as Kara said, some business traumas in my past that were very, very challenging for me to really face. I was really, really anxious and scared to think about going back to work. So that's where I really had to take a deep dive and do the whole inner look and inner work thing, where you have to really examine what it is that's causing that anxiety, that trauma, that strife from those jobs, and where did that responsibility maybe fall? Was it all them? Was it me? Was my perception of the event accurate? Right? Those were things I had to really explore. So I did the deep dive. I went in, and I guess you would say my awakening began because I started to realize a lot of amazing things through meditation, crystals. Again, I have a history of massage, so the holistic field is not unknown to me. Okay. So when I found Firefly, I was ecstatic. I was not a massage therapist anymore, but I was like, oh my goodness, where has this place been? Where were you 10 years ago? I would have loved to work here, because I knew as a massage therapist, when I was doing the work, there was so many limitations to the solopreneur model of things, right? I'm only one person. I can only do so many massages in a day. I can only do so many massages in a week. If you're traveling, if you're an out call, that's time, and that takes away. And so there's only so much, I guess, income, if you want to talk finances about it, there's only so much you can make as a single solopreneur massage therapist. But then if you go work somewhere else, I found they tend to work you very hard. I mean, I've worked a few different places that were, you did 50-minute massages and you had a 10-minute turnover.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the spa industry, at least the one where I came from. That was what you did. You did 50-minute massages and you had 10-minute turnover, and then your next one started right away.
And I will interrupt real quick, because that does work for some people. Some people really like that. So there's definitely no judgment in that space, but there absolutely is. Some people have these preferences, like they don't want to have that 10-minute turnover and have a little bit of breathing time and to not feel like they're rushed. But I definitely know there's some people that it works for.
Well, the other thing I found also, and what I love about Firefly, is because we have about a half-hour turnover time between appointments. And what that does is that prevents a lot of late appointments. right? Most of our appointments do not get started late. Our therapists are not behind on their schedules. We have worked in all of this extra time that really is beneficial for therapists to do their intake process, to not feel rushed, to be able to take time to actually talk to their client and not have this like, okay, cool, we got 2 minutes, get on the table, let's do this, right? It's not that kind of relationship that our therapists can have then, because they don't feel rushed. They don't feel behind. They don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to make up these 5 minutes here, But I have tried very hard, through my own business traumas and whatnot, as working through them, to, as I stepped into leadership here, really be aware of those things, be aware of my past issues with bosses, with myself, as an employee. What did I do that I would have preferred, and so I try to lead from that place, from the place of understanding that we're all human, we're all adults, we're all professionals. I'm not here to babysit a team. I'm here to work with a team. I'm here to grow with a team. I'm here to help hold space and facilitate, growth with people. I don't like to have to put, policies and stuff in place all the time, because I just feel like it's babysitting, like I said, and that's not what I want to do. And I don't think that's what we do here at Firefly, which I think is beautiful. Our team is, everybody's in it together. They all understand our responsibilities, what it means to be part of a team. We have our team meetings, everybody participates. It's really, really, really amazing. It's a really amazing dynamic to be a part of.
So what do you perceive that body workers, like maybe that are seeking a workplace that's better for them, or like maybe an existing one, when you were a body worker, specifically, like, what is the biggest thing that you really needed to change?
When I was a body worker, I honestly, while I had managers and they were nice people, right? Everybody was always wonderful face to face. There was an understanding that there was a corporate hierarchy and they were understanding, but as soon as you got above them, nobody cared. Right? You have that one person who gives a crap, sorry, pardon my language, who cares about you, who's your like immediate manager, but anybody past that person does not care about who you are as an individual. And for me, that was challenging. I had struggles with one of my spa jobs because I would get sick or my husband would be sick and I'd have to take time off. And that got me on the trouble list, so I had a year of too many absences or too many call-offs. And then I had the next year where I could only have so many. That's not a fun environment to work in. That's a fearful, like, oh my gosh, if something happens.
Especially when you have such a good work ethic.
I'd like to think that I do. So it was very challenging.
You definitely do.
When life gets in the way and then people are like, yeah, I don't care what your life problem is. If you're not here, then that's a problem. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how I like to supervise or be a leader, because I truly understand that life is unpredictable. And everybody has so much going on their own side of things, that to try to dictate somebody's life like that is not fair to your employees. It doesn't give them autonomy. It doesn't give them authority over themselves, so.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Emily. I really appreciate you sharing that whole background, because I think it's important for people to have a little bit of that, especially if you are in the body worker industry or you're in the spa industry, like you have that experience probably as well. We've heard that from many of our people who've come here, that they don't feel like they're treated like a number. And if you have a business, like, we understand as management, right? We understand that there's stuff that just has to get done. And if you can, of course, inspire your fellow teammates or your fellow employees that you work with, like, hey, that's great. Or if you have other colleagues that you're an employee, like, inspire everyone to work together. It makes it really a better place for everybody. And if you have things you have to do together, like, we have to buckle down and get this done, and I think that that's just really hard when you have so many different personalities too. But if you create a culture that everyone is really on the same page, it really does make a difference.
Yeah.
No, thank you for being a part of our culture.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for letting me be a part of your culture. I'm so honored to be here. I think, like you said earlier, that aspect of a vulnerable boss, right? Not that scary person. That's a really, probably the biggest thing for me about Firefly, is that I can come talk to my leadership partners, my team. Even when I was as a receptionist, wasn't leadership, I still felt comfortable to talk to whoever was in charge, to know that I was going to be supported, that I was going to be heard, and that I was going to be respected. So that's the biggest thing for me, is to know that there's respect in the workplace. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, one of the things I make important, that if you're an employer out there or if you are a team member somewhere else, it's so helpful, again, to be seen yourself, but also to recognize your leadership. If your leadership team does a lot that you might not even be aware of until you're in their shoes, like, oh my gosh, they do a lot of things. So when people equally appreciate each other, again, it contributes to that amazing culture. So you can do something now, tomorrow, to go into your workplace and appreciate those people that are around you and all the things they do. And sometimes it can really uplift that boss who's just curmudgeon, because they have a lot of stuff that they're trying to do. And there's a work shortage of people and a staff shortage, and they have a lot more falling on their shoulders a lot of times. And most of the time, they're not getting paid anymore. Right?
That's true.
Right.
That's true.
So anyway, thank you so much, Emily. I'm going to bring
Absolutely.
Angie on, and
thank you.
Thank you so much. So this next person is Angela Wrightstone. I'm going to introduce her, and really, she's a wealth of information, and I know she has a lot of experience as well with teams and with different businesses and organizations. So, hey there, Angie.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I can hear you well. You're good. Okay, perfect. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and your work experience?
Of course. So I've been in the industry of massage therapy for, my gosh, 21 years now. It's been a long time, starting out really working on cruise ships. I was part of a resort spa. I also did my own outcalls. I've worked in gym and fitness facilities, and then also spent a good amount of time, the last 12 years or so, working in the education industry, being a massage therapy instructor, managing a group of instructors as I was there throughout the years, and then eventually really getting onto a corporate level of working with 38 campuses and writing curriculum and managing a lot of teachers across the country. And it was so fulfilling to watch massage change people's lives as they got into the field and just kind of found themselves in a way. Massage school is, anyone that's ever been in it, if you're a body worker, you know it's a lot more than just learning how to give a massage. You get quite an experience there. So back into private practice again. I found Firefly just by happenstance. I decided I was going to see what was out there, and it was just sort of a really good fit for me. It was a place that I felt very welcomed. I loved that the interviewing process was so great there and so thorough. And that everybody there cared so much about our own personal growth and our own well-being, that I wasn't walking into a place that was setting a standard of, okay, so you're going to be seeing at least 7 to 8 clients a shift, and you're going to need to see this many people a week. And that's just kind of how it is. And then you have to adjust to that. You have to adjust yourself and your mental health and your body and your schedule to meeting a certain demand. And I was used to that. I was used to meeting a demand. And here it was so freeing to walk in and know that I had a say. I had a say in what I was able to do, what I felt comfortable with. But also that I had the ability to grow there. Being able to still be an educator and teach continuing education was very important to me as sort of my next path in this realm of massage. And Firefly has such a great space for that. And so that was the draw for me, was that there was an educational space and the ability to be able to continue on in education. So that's a little bit about my background. Hopefully I've covered it all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious, as far as like work environments, like what you feel like, if you were to say the number one most important thing in all the places you've worked, because working for a corporate setting is so different, right? And it is necessary to have those boundaries, right? And to have those protocols. And some people, of course, if they're underneath, they get really jaded by that. So really, what would you say is the most number one thing working in a small or large organization that helps create a positive team culture that you've experienced?
I think again, you guys were talking a lot about communication,
Yeah.
clear communication and clear directives for the rest of the team is so important. As what are expectations? What are your expectations of me? Like I said, what am I expected throughout the day, throughout the week? And the fact that we are able to have so much say in expectations that we even talk about our goals each week. And it could be a goal that you just get through the week because you're dealing with, 10 other things in your personal life. And being able to share that and have support is such a big thing. So clear communication, clear objectives and expectations really make or break it. Because if you're confused on what your boss or upper management is asking of you, it's really hard to feel like you're checking things off the list, like you're actually doing a good job, so just that expectation factor, I think has been really big in both a large and a small organization.
Yeah. And I think that as an employee too, if you feel like you're not getting those clear directives, like go to communications lubrication, right? Go to your employer, your leadership team and be like, I don't understand. Because I think a lot of times they're so busy that they didn't know that they didn't make it clear enough, right? And that sometimes happens in organizations for sure. Yeah, I love that. Communication, I think, is the number one thing as well. I really do think that. And we, of course, follow for our code of conduct for Firefly, we follow the 4 agreements, not making assumptions, be impeccable with your word, always do your best. And oh my gosh, I think that those are really important to really follow. And it's something that we really enjoy because it does really help all of us be on the same page as well. So Angie, is there anything else you want to share at all about the team or about anything that you feel is really beneficial as well for anyone that's either an employee out there or an employer with just in general with creating a better work culture? Anything at all?
Yeah, I used to have a lot of students come to me and say, what are things that I should be looking for when I am looking at, getting hired? And, you mentioned it before about interviewing the employer, making sure that the employer understands the business. There are a lot of spas and a lot of salons and day spas that exist, and the ownership is not someone who's in the industry. And that can be really tough on massage therapists because we have a very set standard of ethics and standards of practice that we follow very, very nearly every single day with every client. And if who you're working for doesn't understand those or the boundaries that we really need to set to be professional, you have to make a change. You either have to let them know, hey, this is unethical, or this is illegal, or whatever it might be, or you have to change your job. You have to get out of there because I just don't think if you're not totally schooled in what it means to be a licensed massage therapist and what those requirements and those regulations are that we follow, you can get yourself in a lot of bad situations. So just make sure that you're picking a place to work that understands your job, and maybe they just need you to educate them. And so, we all have been through school. We all know that, hey, there are certain things massage therapists have to do. If you have to go back and read up on that, do what you have to do, but make sure whoever you're working for understands what the legalities are, and make sure that you're running a safe practice.
Thank you so much. I love that. I would share, actually, I worked for a franchise that was a food service franchise. And a lot of people, when they're either retired or they're making an investment, they buy a franchise. And this was not a massage. Again, this is food industry. And the gentleman I worked for was an amazing person. He did not know how to run a business. And he really struggled. And I watched him, again, I didn't know how to run a business. I was like 18 or 19 at the time, but I knew that something wasn't right. And I wish I would have known then, like when you go and get work somewhere, what's this person's experience? Because there's a lot of people that just invest in these businesses because it will make you easy money, right? And they don't have any clue how to run a business. I know that franchises do a lot of training. They do a lot of that type of thing when you work and you buy one of those. But again, there's so much more work and personal development that goes in leading people and communication and all that stuff. So I think that's really important, like you said, and we said, interview your employers. I think it's a really great way to really find out if that culture is a right fit for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being a part of our team. And Angie, you really contribute to the amazing team culture we have here as well. Just a reminder for anyone out there who is watching, Angie is our continuing education director here. So not only does she work with us and teach classes, but she also works with other licensed massage therapists looking to also teach CEs and to learn how to do that too. So even if you own your own business and you're looking to teach CEs at your own practice somewhere, wherever you are in Pennsylvania or not, she's there to help with that too. So there's some cool things. We're here tonight to help businesses as well as employees working somewhere else. And then of course to share with you guys, if you feel like, hey, Firefly seems like a cool place, we are hiring, but this is really just to get information out there because we see so much discord in the workplace that we want to contribute and give back what we've accomplished and created here. And I'm going to bring Emily on too. Emily, I'm going to bring you on just to have you here and to share. We'll have three of us. Yeah. Right. So that's what we're trying to do here. We're really looking to share with everyone out there, like that work doesn't have to be toxic. And you have the power as an employee and as an employer to make a difference and change it. So yeah. But these ladies are really paramount to our team and the success. Anyone at our team is also able to join in leadership team meetings if they ever want to. We absolutely welcome people to do so. But I know I think Tanya and Mimi were going to join. I think they were driving home from tonight. We may have some things I'll share with you guys in the chat probably later about their experiences working with Firefly. But the only last thing I would ask you to, I think this is just to go for people who are like, oh my gosh, Firefly sounds really cool. Again, if you're like, this would be a cool place for me to work. And also for you guys who are employees or employers, some cool benefits that maybe you could implement at your space, at your business. Emily and Angie, Emily can go first. Is there anything that you feel like you didn't know Firefly had as a perk for their employees until you were actually involved? Or not just a perk, but the things that we have that would be beneficial for other people to know about?
Gosh, so many things. But honestly, there's so many benefits and perks to working at Firefly. I honestly wish I was doing massage again. You know what I mean? I wish I had my license so I could, Did you want specific examples or?
You can, if you feel called to give them. I think that's one of the things I know so many people don't know. And I would love to share that for employers who need to have some ideas, like how can you make your workplace better for your employees? And also what we offer in case people are like, I want to join that place.
Yeah. I think making sure that your staff is taken care of. So for us, that means, massages, regular trades, regular care for one another, which we encourage and do. I think I'm breaking up. That's okay. So that's one of the big perks that I really think is beneficial for our team is that use of facilities and trades and the connection with other therapists. And the genuine concern that our leadership has for our staff, if they're having problems, if they're having troubles, we genuinely care. We genuinely want to help you and understand. And if you need time off, those kind of things, we're not here to be strict or demand you see X number of people a day. Really, we just want you to be the best therapist that you can be for you and for the clients that you're helping and to help the community as best as possible. So however we can help you do that.
Thank you, Emily. Angie, do you have anything that you'd like to share?
I think what I don't want to use the word surprised because it was a positive thing. I was really pleasantly did not expect the amount of marketing to happen when I came on board. And it always reminded me when I was working on the cruise ship, we would have a moment when the passengers were first coming on board and they could tour the spa and they could actually see the treatments being done. They could see someone getting a massage in the room and what that looked like. They could see the different body treatments that were going on. And I always thought that was such a great way to market, because I think people sometimes get an idea in their head of what a service might look like and they feel uncomfortable. But when you actually see it being done, they're like, okay, this kind of eases my fears. And so in the beginning, when I first started, we did a lot of videos of me actually working on people in the different modalities that I provide. And I think that if you can watch someone receiving work, you get a better understanding. I know I'm a visual learner, so watching something visually, listening to what I'm saying in the video, and seeing that it's not scary, you're not going to get hurt. I think that can help cause really ease people's fears as they go into maybe trying a modality or something that they've never tried before. So there was a lot of time spent, I know, just marketing myself, and it was fantastic to feel so supported coming in the door. And I didn't expect that. So that was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because the value in sharing the value of what you offer in a place that's in a way that's grounded, I think, is really important. So if you're in the service industry and you have even like you own a salon, or people are cutting hair or whatever it is that's service based, and if you have either subcontractors or employees or whatever you hire, I think that's absolutely like a really good point, Angie, because that's really how you feel a part of the team, and you feel valued for being a part of the team. You have something really awesome to offer to that facility or that organization. Yeah, I love doing that stuff too. It's really fun. It's really fun. Thank you guys so much. And I will share, thank you guys so much for coming on. And I'll just share the final couple things that not everybody is aware of. Thank you guys so much. Yeah, one of the things that I also know that not everyone's aware of, that we make sure that our massage therapists are really fully, if they're employed with us, we hire subcontractors as well as employees, both. But we really make sure that they get CE credits every 2 years. They get money towards that. They get CPR provided. They get discounts on all classes and continuing education courses. If they are doing anything with sales for the boutique, they of course get commissions. That's something that we do. But we want to give a birthday massage for you once a year, as long as you've been with us for 6 months. That's something that's so important for us. And we do offer free trainings for our therapists with Angie. She's had extensive training working in the massage industry. So if you own a business out there, whatever resources you have that can, again, this internal sense of giving people ability to up level, ability to increase their skill set. I think that's really, really valuable in really creating an amazing team and work culture, that everyone feels that they're learning something together. It also is good for team building, but I just love to learn, and we love to learn and love to teach and to share that information and knowledge as a team. And of course, again, whatever we create together, more and more businesses are doing this, but they're sharing their profit. And that's what we also do. So it's more that we're heart-centered, and we want to, of course, we need to make income to keep the doors open. There's logistics of keeping lights on and paying, the support staff. But really, the majority of our profit, we want to give that back to our employees and our staff. So the more that they're involved with us, the more that they get that bonus back. It's interesting because it's like we see so many employee-owned businesses getting that perk, and that's something that's become an interesting trend. And I foresee more of that happening. More of us being like, yeah, I put an energy investment into working with this organization, and it's not like I can only hit a ceiling with my income, that I only can make so much. Like if you have other opportunities on that business to make more, and if you're an employer and you're allowing your employees to do that, you're going to be able to attract people that, of course, if they're ambitious enough and they want to do it, there needs to be no limitation, or reasonable, I should say, limitations for that people can really make an earned income that's supportive and sustainable for living. I think that's really, really important. So other than that, if you guys have any questions, I'd be willing to ask questions or answer some questions here. I'll check the comment box. But I'm really grateful to share this information, not just for those of you our business owners out there, but also employees. We have, again, ability to change and shift the workforce, and not only the workforce, but our health, our relationships, our community. This is what we're all about in a nutshell at Firefly, is self-accountability and really looking at ourselves and what can we shift and change, and who are we and how can we become our best version of ourselves. And from where I came from, of course, it was a long journey to that, with my journey of my health and my self-esteem and communication skills. I was a very shy person, but believe it or not, I was very introverted and really anxious. I had a lot of anxiety with talking to people. And of course, little by little, my goal is again to help more people to feel that sense of empowerment, whatever it looks like for them, whether that's working with me for business coaching, just free information for you as a business owner or as an employee, so you can really find a sense of personal empowerment and inspiration for your own life, that you don't have to be stuck. As well as and share information if our team culture is a fit. It's so important for us as a team that people we hire fit the team, because we pride ourselves on limited to low, no drama at all in the center, other for when people come in there in pain and they're hurting. It's really more clients that are having issues that we have to support. But our team is really a low or no drama space, and it's really nice. And in order to keep that integrity high, we just make sure that people who are joining us are really on the same page as us. And if they're not, then I'm looking forward to I always network with other businesses and find other places that might be a better fit for them. Because there's nothing worse than joining a workforce or an organization that over time you realize you're not a good fit for, and the one up the street or somewhere fits your values, who you are as a person. You have a better chemistry with those leadership or the other colleagues there. It's like your work heaven. Like finding your work heaven is possible. And even if it's just you work a part-time job working at the gas station, that could be heaven for you, because maybe you have full-time responsibilities as a mother or a caretaker, and that's your way to get out there and help other people and be involved with other people. So when we talk about your ideal workplace, it may not fit the description of what our culture says it should be. It should have this level of income and this level of accountability and this level of helping the world to this degree. It's so different for all of us. And when we get in touch with ourselves and really who we are and what we desire, that's when we can really, again, have a clearer direction for that goal of where we want to be. So thank you guys so much for coming and joining us. I will answer any questions you might leave in the comments later on. But have a wonderful, wonderful evening, and wishing you healing in your workplace. So thank you so much. Bye-bye.